Certainly, and I'll just elaborate a little bit on what Griff said. So the communicator that we tested, it does have the SOS function on it. However, when that is initiated, it goes through Garmin to a service, and then those coordinates are geolocated into our local 911 systems. However, like you said, that works fine outside, but it does not do anything inside whatsoever. As soon as you come under roof cover, there is no communication signal with it. You can't send a message or anything with that. So we're continuing to work with our state partners and see what kind of possible solutions there are out there for a sustainable fix to that issue until we can get the infrastructure going.
You want to elaborate on that?
Okay, I can add on just a little bit. I found some information from one of our partner agencies with the Department of Health that has some testing equipment that I've reached out to see if they could potentially come out and test for where service areas are at with what's currently out there with various different carriers and various different things like that. So I've not got an answer back from them, so we'll see where that stands. One thing on even if it's cell sector, there's 3 sectors on a tower. So one sector can only go to one PSAP. So if a sector is pointed towards another state, then it's going to go to them, and you have to transfer capabilities and all with that. There was a meeting, a VGIN, Virginia Geographic Information Network meeting, in which Chandler Vaughn from the Virginia Department of Housing and Community Development presented to that advisory board on broadband initiatives, and so he's provided some of the information there. I've relayed some, going to be relaying some information back to this group so that they can potentially reach out to them, and we've got some requests. We're going to work with some of our agency, with VGN and 911 Services Board, and that's who I work with, the 911 Services Board and Geospatial Services.
So back to me.
Yes, sir.
One thing since we are talking about that, and Griffith mentioned it, sorry Jerry, I'm not supposed to get up and film today. This right here is FCC information. This is one of the things collectively you guys as a whole can really use. What you essentially do is you call, and we're going to have Jerry run a public service announcement, because this could be used countywide also. The FCC needs to know where cell phone service doesn't exist. You guys, we all have the capability, or somebody can show you the capability of how you can see your GPS coordinates on your phone. It's possible. Especially where you live. Get those coordinates online too. And let them know that you don't have cell service there. The more people that do this, the better. And that's one of the things we're going to actually start trying to put out countywide. But it's something that will definitely help y'all's situation up there. So I encourage you to grab one of these, somebody grab the rest and distribute them. Let's see, any new news on the BEAD grant? I think I got that one covered. Are we still looking at 2 years plus before any corrective action is taken? Well, I won't say I won't address corrective action, but I will address the broadband aspect of it. We're awarded the grant money in April. The build out after that's going to take 18 months. Once that happens, you guys have broadband, the capability of different tiers and levels of service that you can get. And the county has universal broadband coverage. We won't have to worry about this anywhere in Alleghany County. One of the reasons I think we also have a good chance in this application is because this is going to be a project that takes care of the whole county, which is what the actual goal is of this federal money. The senators and the congressmen will tell you that, who we're also working with, and I know you guys have been in contact with also, and I encourage y'all to do that. Our federal legislative delegation, group of people, they're the ones that brought this money to the Virginia. They want to make sure that money that's coming from the federal government is spent right. So the more communication you guys have with them, the better. Will the current proposed broadband upgrades include phone landlines or only Wi-Fi calling? I called and got the answer yesterday, and yes, you can actually still have your phone landline with their service on your copper line, which I was kind of surprised, but you can. One of the questions that I've had come at a couple of angles, and I'm going to let Griff address because he was on the VACO committee that handled this, was when you're dealing with multiple providers within an area, how does a build-out happen? And in our case, we're dealing with Dominion and Frontier up in this area. Griff can give a pretty good overview of that.
Okay,
You got it, Griff?
you got one question on that?
Yeah, I just had one thing I was wanting to bring up. You may have heard of, you got 911 service, and I think that's one of the concerns, is we've got NG 911, next generation 911. What that's doing is bringing from copper to the fiber connectivity into the PSAC, into the 911 center. So the goal for that to be completed is October 31st of this next year. One of the things that we're having to do, and I've been tasked with, is working with a lot of the smaller telcos throughout the Commonwealth and identifying those. Frontier is one of those that we work with. The uniqueness, and you all know it, the uniqueness of that is that they're based out of another state. So some dialogue is being started with them on how they're going to interconnect with the NG 911, and so we're working towards that. Just want to let you know about that concept. And I've got I think a different contact that I'll be working with up there on the 911 side of things with it.
With that this evening, we've answered the questions that we had, and please keep sending questions because, and you can call Reid's office and he'll put you in contact with the right person.
Hey, Griff, before you wrap it up, address the Dominion issue up there.
Oh, okay.
And how you guys
Okay.
have done it with the VACO.
Yeah, that's been a question about Dominion using their poles. Well, and right here. Broadband provisions, it was Bill 56, 585.1.9. And that was brought up through VACO when this conversation with broadband started 3 years, 4 years ago, how to get the last mile. And that was part of this initiative, getting this money. I serve on VACO board, and I was tasked with helping, trying to figure out how we could make it cheaper. So one of the initiatives were, why can't we use the same power companies and power poles that are spread out in the Commonwealth and run telephone and cable lower than the high voltage? So that got, VACO lobbied the House and the Senate, and it became tuition and was passed last year. So the question on, can Craig Bonitot use Dominion's lines? It's law. They have to. It's a lease agreement that they have to work through, but they only have 18 months before the Corporation Commission sets the rate in stone. And it's a minute rate on the poles. It was like in the pennies per pole per month. But Dominion has been the one that's worked very well throughout the Commonwealth with this initiative, and they've worked with several rural electorates throughout the Commonwealth and going this. So we won't have a problem with Dominion being on one side of the mountain and Craig Bonitot on the other, or your neighbor has Craig Bonitot and you got Dominion. The poles situation, they're not going to have to put in new poles. That keeps the cost down. And so I think that's covered. We had several meetings with that, and actually we got a couple more. I'm going to be in Richmond February the 1st, Government's Day, and we've got a few other things that for rural Virginia. I serve on the rural caucus for VACO. And it's, because our issues and our small communities are not the same as metropolitan areas. And up until about 4 years ago, that group didn't exist, and, you know, everything was straight across the board and measured by Northern Virginia, Richmond, Chesapeake, and whatever they came up with, that's what we all had to live with. But rural Virginia has different issues altogether. They're similar, but they're not the same. And that's been a great, and I personally have talked with the Vice President of Dominion, Mr. Beamer, and I will be meeting with him again. And he's with the Government Affairs section of Dominion. And he says there will be no issue because they also are putting in broadband. So Dominion's getting into it, but they're not into it yet 100%, but they're getting into it in some areas. So I wanted to pass that on to you. And that's about all the information we've got with the questions. And we just need information, keep coming. But they've set up the email address, a separate email address strictly for broadband, where we don't get communications dropped, because we need to keep open dialogue. And we're doing everything we can with the system. We didn't create the system, we having to work around it. The cards that we were dealt with, and we're doing everything we can. You can take that to the bank. I mean, that's, y'all been dealing with it a long time, and you've heard people probably say the same thing, but we're closer now than we've ever been. And I feel good about this grant, I really do. Anybody else?
I just got a question. What is and I need to do a little bit more research on a couple things. What is the area code in the first 3 digits of the phone numbers that's covered that area? Is it all the same? First
540, 559.
540-559?
Right, that's the
Okay.
exchange.
Okay, thank you. Oh, what is that exchange?
That is 559, that's the exchange.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
That was the old AT&T.
Yes, so I've spoken with Reid, and with tonight, the way it was set up, and the questions were going to be reviewed and answered from last time going into this meeting tonight. The one thing, my concern, and everyone can tell you, was, you know, there's questions out there, and we want those questions answered. So Reid wants to make sure that everyone knows. With that is, you can set up an appointment with him, right? Make sure if I'm saying something wrong, correct me. Set up an appointment with him. I would, if you want, I will be there. I work, but believe me, I can rearrange my schedule to be there. If you want me to, if you don't want me to, I want no part of it, I understand that. But those questions, if he doesn't have the answer, he may have to reach out to other parties and get them. But he will work with you. If there's no response, you know, let us know. Maybe there's something going on with that as well, because I know sometimes people tell me they call me and I may get it, but if you don't leave me a message, I'm not going to call you back. I don't care if it's on a caller ID. But also, I don't play phone tag. I tell people, if I've called you 2 or 3 times and we're playing phone tag, unless we know that, I don't do that either, because I think we're all have a lot. That might be negative. Maybe I shouldn't have said that, but I'm a pretty honest person. The other thing is, you know, I know that Dave Price worked on this before my time, and it was the Lost Colony, is what he called everybody. And that was one thing that he said that he would love to see go forward. I've been on the board 13 years, and I know that since the day I stepped on, I was appointed first before my election, And that's one thing that Mr. Price wanted to see go through was broadband. So from the 13 years I've been on it, we are a lot closer, and again, this money is new money, what I call new money that wasn't available back then, because I think if it was Mr. Price, probably y'all would have had it, by now. Although COVID was a bad thing, I think that's why we have this money. I think a lot of this came about because with the schools having homeschool, having to do it, we know that in your area you can't. And I've heard people say I had to go to Callahan to the elementary school and sit in the parking lot. I've got to go to West Virginia and make phone calls. I don't get those calls in. And no one in today's time should have to do that. No one should have to do that. I live on the other side, so I'm your rep, but I live on Potts Creek side. I have issues, I have issues, but it's expected with it. But I was given a little bit of a lesson on with how it works, and I was told by someone I was working with at work is that, hey, when it's cold, the lines or whatever, I don't know, I'm going to use wrong wordings, contract or whatever, and then when it comes summertime, they have to, so you're going to have issues going into the winter, you're going to have issues going into the summer, and then in between with the weather. And we know that, but I think you touched on that tonight with maybe that's why we're not seeing as many. If you do not have email, if you do not have any service where you can get this information in that you need to, please let me know. I will send email. If I have to make an appointment with you every week and go down and see you, I will deliver it. But please, we need to get that in, because if we don't, if they're only seeing those 11 and that's all they see, we don't want to think, well, 11's not that many for 3 or 4 months or 5 months. So let's get them in. And if people don't know about it, let's just spread that word. But I do know we have people here in this room that are really wonderful at spreading the word. And I want to thank you for that. And I'm looking at everybody. I don't know everybody, and I apologize. But I do know the ones that's been working on this. They're gun-ho on it. They're passionate about it. I'm going to use that word, passionate. They're passionate about it, but they also, it's because of the need for it. And so we understand with it. I have a question for you. So tomorrow, I know that you said the CDEC will be at the office. And I know the ones attending, would there be a way that if I could sit in, or is that okay? Will you let me know about that time or whatever? That way, it'll help me to be more involved in that piece. With that, so we'll do that. Trying to think if there was anything else with it. And I know there's questions. I do. I know that people had questions with that, and I know that how they have set it up tonight, but it's that I just want to, I'm going to ask a question, because I can ask a question. Coming here tonight with the information that was given, do you feel that you're going to be leaving with answers to some of the questions you had? The questions that we had from last meeting, I was not here, were those questions addressed already? Just from, so would it be possible for us to set up a meeting? Because I know we have at least one. I was
going to say we have 3 minutes.
Okay.
Three questions that won't take more than 3 minutes.
I don't understand the setup of the meeting. We're not having any public inputs tonight? No discussions?
We were just trying to give you information as to where we're at in the grant application.
Okay, I don't think we were told that.
No.
It was an information meeting to give you an update on the grant follow-up. And that's when we set the email up where we could have the communication feeding into us so we could put the information together. And that's what we're trying to have is dialogue and emails flowing where we can get the answers and problems solved as they hit us, and we can pass it on to the federal people, because when we need to get as much information to them as possible. The more information we feed them is why we're trying to do it. And if it's misconfusion there, it may have been on my part, I apologize for it, but the library, they gave us a time limit, and that's kind of where we're at.